Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and they were gathered together at Soko, which belongs to Judah. Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and encamped in the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines.
The Philistines stood on the mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on the mountain on the other side. And there was a valley between them.
A champion went out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a helmet of brass on his head, and he was clad with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. He had brass shin guards on his legs, and a brass javelin between his shoulders. The staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. And his shield bearer went before him.
He stood and cried to the armies of Israel, and said to them, "Why have you come out to set your battle in array? Am I not a Philistine, and you servants to Saul? Choose a man for yourselves, and let him come down to me." Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah,
whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. As he talked with them, behold, the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, came up out of the ranks of the Philistines, and spoke according to the same words, and David heard them.
All the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, and were very afraid.
Because of him your servant will go and fight with this Philistine. Saul said to David, "You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth."
David said to Saul, "Your servant was keeping his father's sheep,
and when a lion or a bear came and took a lamb out of the flock,
I went out after him and struck him and delivered it out of his mouth."
Oh, Val's clad David with his clothing. He put a helmet of brass on his head, and he clad him with a coat of mail. David strapped his sword on his clothing, and he tried to move, for he had not tested it. David said to Saul, "I can't go with these, for I have not proved them." David took them off him. He took his staff in his hand, and chose for himself 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in the shepherd's bag which he had. Even in his wallet his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. The Philistine came on and drew near to David, and the man who bore the shield went before him. When the Philistine looked around and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and with the love of fair face.
The Philistine said to David, David,
am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?
the Philistine cursed David by his God.
The Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the sky and to the animals of the field. Then David said to the Philistine, you come to me with the sword and with the spear and with the javelin, but I come to you in the name of Yahweh of armies, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. It happened when the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet David, that David hurried and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. David put his hand in his bag, took a stone and slung it, and struck the Philistine in his forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell on his face to the earth.
So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and killed him.
But there was no sword in the hand of David. Then David ran and stood over the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of its sheath and killed him and cut off his head therewith. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. When Saul saw David go out against the Philistine, he said to Abner, the captain of the army, Abner, whose son is this youth? Abner said, as your soul lives, O king.